and this Hangout on Air is live. And so what this does for me that makes it super valuable is it archives this on my YouTube channel. So right now it's recording, and ultimately here's my YouTube channel, and here's the session that we just did prior to this. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you will find an archived recording of this session. So if you're like, okay, I remember this tool, but he said this thing about it and don't remember what it was, you can always go back in, you can find my YouTube channel, go back to that session and say, oh yeah, that was it. You know what I mean? So it's an archive basically of what you've done. And as a self-reflective educator, it also allows me to go back and kind of look at, okay, how did you do this? You know, what did you do well? What did you not do well? It allows me to kind of self-assess myself in a more accurate way. Because in the middle of teaching, you're just in the zone. But when you have time to go back and listen to yourself, you're like, oh man, I sound awful. You know, you got to get over that. But then you think, you know, okay, so how is this working? What did I say here that worked? What did I say here that didn't work? But it allows for just kind of this self-propelled archive. I don't have to click save. I don't have to upload. I don't have to do anything. It just pops right on my channel when I'm done.
Is it viewable by everyone?
Yes, it's defaults to public. And that's the main reason that I do it, is because, you know, I want this to be a resource. I mean, today you're going to hear one keynote, a demo slam with a lot of people doing a lot of things, and then you're going to go to 4 sessions. It's a lot of stuff to pack into your brain in one day. So the ability for you to be able to go back and take a look at and listen to what you experienced is pretty valuable in my estimation. So we are going to start from there. So we are now recording. So my name's Mark Rounds. My day job, I am a punching bag for high school students. Okay, the school where I work is in downtown San Diego. It's called the Monarch School. We are a school for kids impacted by homelessness. So kids have to fall under what Ed Code says is homelessness to be admitted into our school. I teach high school. I teach a little English, so I've been an English teacher for years. A year and a half ago, I got my CTE credentials in building and construction trades and IT. So I'm doing a lot of different things now. You know, we're teaming. I have two construction classes that start in August, and we're teaming with a downtown firm that's building tiny houses. So our students are going to be like part of this tiny house movement. We're going to be, you know, from foundation to framing to plumbing to electrical. We're going to be doing the whole thing. So it's going to be pretty exciting. So I have my hands on a lot of different things, and you know, I really enjoy opening doors for kids. And so that's, you know, everything that I'm going to talk to you about, and you know, everything that I believe in as a teacher is through that lens. You know, is how do we utilize these tools that are out here to make kids better? This is my email. As someone who's sitting in one of my sessions, it's an open invitation to send me an email whenever about anything. You know, and I can't promise you that I will return that email, but you feel free to send it. This is my Twitter handle, if you're on Twitter, and this is my YouTube channel. So this is where the archives of different things will be. Okay, so let's get into Google Drive. Are you all aware that there are Google Drive templates? Okay, so this is kind of new, but docs, slides, and sheets, they all have their own home. So if I go to docs.google.com, and those are just links on your page there, it'll take me to the home of Google Docs. So this is kind of like, this is the Google Drive offshoot just for docs. It's the same docs that are in your Google Drive, but it's just the docs. Okay, and it will default to the last documents that you accessed down here, but it's up top that I want to concentrate on. In this gray area, I can start a new document, but I also have a bunch of templates. And it looks like there's only one line, but when I click on more, okay, there are a lot of templates in here, ready-made templates that are ready to rock and roll. And you can see there's letters, resumes, essay templates, notes, proposals, newsletters, all kinds of stuff. And the same thing works if I go to slides.google.com. I go to the home for Google Slides, in which there's a bunch of templates. There's a lesson plan template, a book report template, field trip, science project, certificate. You want to make certificates for your students. Here's just a template for that, right? I mean, and you can play around with this, do whatever you want. It saves it right to your drive, and this is now a document that you own. And then, for those of us that are just next level nerdy, there's always the sheets.google.com, where there are tons of spreadsheet templates, budgets, travel planners, schedules. I mean, so this is the kind of thing where, as an English teacher, I have very little use for spreadsheets. We don't need to, spreadsheets are used to, tabulate figures and make charts. And I don't really have any use for that. But then I start looking at these spreadsheets and I'm like, well, they have a to-do list, a spreadsheet. That's kind of a trip. And how would I use that in the English class? Well, let's say that I'm, going back to, just some classic literature, and I'm like, okay, I'm taking students through Catcher in the Rye, and Holden Caulfield has made it to New York City, and let's make a to-do list for Holden Caulfield. And now I'm using a spreadsheet in my class to help students connect to a character, and then we can kind of take that to-do list and push it towards some other kind of writing. But it's that kind of thinking that makes Google Drive such a valuable tool in the classroom, in that you can take things that aren't necessarily meant for one thing and use them for that one thing. And just by jumping into these templates, we can start looking at different ways to look at these kind of documents. A travel planner. So here's a travel planner template in Google Sheets, all based on a spreadsheet model with the each of the little boxes in there and all that. What are the little boxes called in the spreadsheet? Someone help me. Cells. Thank you. All those cells, and so I can start utilizing these things. And what happens when we start making charts based on what a character in a novel, or let's even say, like, we were reading some nonfiction and we start getting into budgeting, and you can make a budget for somebody who you're reading about, or for a country that there's all kinds of different ways that you can cross curriculum using spreadsheet templates. Okay, so just know, those are out there. Used to be that, in order to find a template for something in a Google Drive, like I would have to go to, I would do a Google search for Google Sheets budget template, and I would just do a search for it, and I would start finding places that had different, here's 20-something finance, free Google Docs and Excel personal budget planner spread. I'd find stuff like that and then kind of make it my own. But now Google has upped the game and actually put in these templates that are real and totally usable. Okay, and so the format that this that the slide deck takes here is that I will, whatever little hack or trick or a resource that is inherent in here, down at the bottom of the slide will be the element that it applies to. So in this case, the templates apply to docs, slides, and sheets, whereas this next one, voicing it, is just in Google Docs. Okay, so a really cool thing that they added to Google Docs about 6 months ago was what they call voice typing. And it's built in, which is awesome. You used to have an add-on to do it. And so if you open, and I've got way too many tabs open, I'm going to go to if I open up a new doc, I can go to Tools, and I can go down to Voice Typing, and it will pop this little microphone up here, and I can, and I can type in to Google Doc whatever it is that I want to say, and it will just follow it out, do what I ask it to do, and just print it all out, and then I can at the end of it say exclamation point. And it knows that, I don't want to spell out exclamation point. It will just put an exclamation point, period. Oh, look at that. So sometimes it doesn't play nice, right? It just put the exclamation point in the period. So yeah, so it has that little flaw there, but I don't know if it's a flaw or not. But so allowing you to voice type, it's going to come out jumbled the way we speak. We don't write the way we speak, but I found that what voice typing allows students to do is so this is one way that it's used, just to get ideas down, and then we have them not struggling to get their ideas down on a blank doc, but now the job becomes editing it into writing and not a transcript of what you've said, right? So you've said all this stuff and it's all over the page now. Now you edit it down to something that is usable in whatever format you're writing, whatever the writing is. Okay, now you have to figure out how to make it from this wall of text that you just blurted out into something usable. Is there a question?
Yes, I have a question. I couldn't find it.
So you're in an open doc?
I am.
And did you go to Tools?
No.
So up here in the menu bar, Tools, and then down to Voice Typing. Okay, so that's one way in which it's a great tool, and it really kind of flips writing on its ear a little bit, because what the world needs now is people who can, look at text and make sense of it and put it into a format that that fits the circumstance. Okay, it's something that I've had to get over as an English teacher, that nowhere in life are any of our students ever going to be asked to write an essay, except school. They're going to be, that doesn't mean they don't know how to write and write well. They need to write for a purpose. Like, why are you writing? Like, in the real world now, how is writing used? You have to write a proposal. You have to write a business plan. You have to write a letter. There's a lot of business, all these different things that you need to know how to write for, and not one of them is an essay, except in college. So giving students multiple opportunities and reasons to write becomes part of our job as writing teachers now. Because they're not going to sit in front of somebody that's hiring them and be asked, how's your essay writing? They just want to know, have you written a business plan? Have you written a proposal? Have you written a summary of your work? And those types of things become super valuable. And the idea of being able to say it and then edit it into something that's well written is definitely a skill. So the other way that using voice typing is awesome is for students who, and there's a lot of them out there, who would rather write by hand. So they write by hand, and then they can read what they wrote into a doc, instead of writing it by hand like a draft, like a first draft, like we did back in the day. You'd write a first draft, then you type out your second draft, right? They can just read it out and then get it into a document form. So that voice typing is a fantastic tool. At any point you have any questions, please shout them out. Okay, so research. This slide I made, I kind of change it up every time that I go to present a different place. So we've got our town of Silver City here. So how many of you have used the research tool in your Google Drive? All right, so we're going to go back into that same doc. And again, under tools, so it's getting really handy here, the second item down is research. And when I click on research, it's going to open up a pane over here on my right-hand side. Okay, the research pane. And at this point, what I did on the slide is I just did, in this case, I typed in the search area here, Silver City, New Mexico. And so what I get over here is like a little mini Google page in my doc, right? And so the first thing I get is a map, right? So if I wanted this, and so look how cool this is. I get it, if I roll over the map, I get a little insert button here. And if I click on insert, it will pop that map like right into my doc, right? So I don't have to copy and paste. I don't have to, there's a lot of cool things that I don't have to do, right? I can just pop that map right in there, which is nice. But the real power, especially when you're having to write research papers, again, another type of writing you never have to do anywhere except school, right? But as high school teachers, as K-12 teachers, our goal is to prepare our kids for college, and they have to write loads of research papers in college. So that's one of our things. So what this allows me to do is, and this is really cool, so here's the official website of the town of Silver City. I can insert the link. So boom, if I wanted to insert the link, actually let me redo that and make it a little cleaner format. Let me pull this map out of here. Okay, if I just hover over it and I click on insert link, you can see right here it puts in town of Silver City with a link to that site. But then here's the other cool thing it'll do. If I hover over it and I click on site, see what happened here next to Silver City? It put a little 1 up next to it. And then when I scroll down to the bottom of the page, it dropped a footnote in there. Okay? So I can cite on the fly, which is really cool. Now, I know as a teacher that's assigned writing research papers that we don't necessarily cite our resources with footnotes anymore. That's not MLA style, right? So I know that some of you in your last session learned about add-ons, okay? So just real quick, I'm gonna right up here in add-ons, I'm in my document, and I go to add-ons, and there's an add-on. I don't know if you've written a research paper anytime in the last few years, you've probably used something like Easybib, and if you haven't, you were working too hard. So there's Easybib Bibliography Creator, okay? And I'm gonna roll over here to Manage Bibliography. And it is going to change my navigation pane over here on the left. And it is going to change it to the Easybib page. And if I want to cite a website, so in this case, I'm going to do townofsilvercity.org. I'm going to go ahead and copy that, go back to my doc. And if I type in that, if I paste in that website URL and click search, I've got it in MLA style, right? Here's the official website of the town of Silver City in sunny Grant County, New Mexico. I click on select, and it has, there's our MLA style citation. And if I click that red button right there that says add bibliography to doc, it is going to add where are you, buddy? Come on. Oh, okay, here it is, sorry. So look at this, it's got now works cited, MLA style, and that citation is in there just as it should be. And when I finish my document, I will push this down its own page, MLA style. And there you go. So every website that I use or every resource that I use in the writing of my research paper, as I use it, I add it into Easybib over here on the right hand side, and I add it to my works cited page. So it's not something that I do at the end. It's something that I do as I do it. Okay, and it's again, this is all about productivity, and it's all about using what's available to us to make what we're doing more streamlined, and I'll say it, easier. Right? Creating an MLA style bibliography should not be hard these days, because there is a tool right inside my Google Docs that does it for me. And see, the old school teacher in me says, well, then kids just aren't learning how to format a citation in MLA style. And then the part of me that wants to punch that other old teacher in the face says, so? You know what? If it's available online, then we should be able to you should be able to use it. And then here's the other old school teacher in my head argument says, well, what if the internet's not working? And then the new school guy says, then who gives a crap if they know how to cite a source MLA style in the wild, right? They're up on the top of that damn mountain in the middle of the night, barreling into a javelina. They don't need, and there's no internet up there. There's no connectivity. They don't need to know how to cite something MLA style. The only time they're going to need that is when they're typing something into a computer, and that computer is more likely than not going to be connected to the internet. If it's not now, it will be. Right? So let's not go through life pretending that this doesn't exist, because kids need to know how to do it. No, kids need to know how to access this tool to do it for them. Right? That's I'm gonna push the soapbox back under and just get back to nothing but the facts here. But yeah, so fantastic tool. That is a fantastic little add-on, Easybib Bibliography Creator. There's a site called easybib.com where you can go and you can have, it'll save everything you ever put into it, and it'll basically, you can build bibliographies for every research project you ever do, and it just houses them all in there, which is cool. Okay, but at a very simple level, as something that's built in, okay, under tools, that research tool is fantastic for inserting images. Okay, so look at this. So let's say I wanted a picture of the town of Silver City in my document, right? So here's just a regular Google search, but if I click on it, you can see everything: images, scholar, quotes, dictionary, and tables. If I go to images and I want an image in there, well, here's an image. It's from the Silver City website, right? That I could then just drop right into my Google Doc just by dragging it over into it. So I can add pictures very quickly and easily. Okay. If I want quotes, no quotes for the town of Silver City. You can do a quote search. So here are quotes that have the word revolution in them. Okay, and I can insert quotes, and it inserts them kind of in that style. So it's that research tab is super useful. And it's the thing that it's one of those things that I take for granted. But whenever I am presenting this to other teachers, like, never knew that existed. And it's these small things that just make you more productive. It's something that you could always just go to a different, open up a new tab, do a search for it, find it, bring it over, right? I mean, it's not that, it's something that you'd have to work a little bit for, but this is just, again, streamlines what you're doing. Okay, so previews. This is a tool that I use all the time when I'm grading student work. Okay, so this is a me tool, making me more productive as a teacher. So let's say I'm in, are any of you using Google Classroom? Okay, so you know that one of the things that Google Classroom does is that when you create an assignment, it puts all the students' assignments in the same folder, which is very handy, right? So, and so this is in a Google Classroom folder, right? An assignment on perseverance. And if I jump in here and I start, my modus operandi was always, before I learned this trick, was always to open the student's document, go through it, give it a grade, then close it, open up the next student document. It has to open that up, give it a grade, go to the, okay. If I right click on it and I go to preview, it'll open it up in this window. And we've all seen this before, right? Where you open up like a PDF in your Google Drive and it has this kind of this semi-transparent black background. Now that I'm in here, I can scroll between student assignments with my arrow keys. So I have this assignment, I grade it, go to the next one. This assignment, grade it, go to the next one. This assignment, grade it, go to the next one. Again, as a teacher, my seconds are precious. Most likely, if I'm grading student work, I am grading it not in my classroom, I'm at home, I'm not on the clock, right? And that time is precious to me. And I want to spend as little of it as possible clicking and closing and clicking and closing and clicking and closing. And this I just arrow through. Okay, and if, trust me, this class was a small class, but if you have a class of 30 kids, clicking and closing and clicking and closing is a lot of wasted seconds, for sure. Okay, so that ability to, right click on the first one, preview it. Again, I said this last session. We did it on Google Chrome. Same thing in Google Drive. When in doubt, if you don't know what to do, right click, see what happens, see what pops up. So here, I just, in a file, in a folder in my Google Drive, I right click and here I have preview, I have open with, and I see, wow, I can open this with some different things. I can share it, I can get a link, I can move it somewhere, I can add a star, I can rename it, I can view the details. Oh, what does that mean? If I view the details, what does that mean? Oh, look at this. Viewing the details, I can see now where when Juan worked on it, how many times he opened it up. I can see the changes that he made. Right? So now I can kind of see, a history of that document. You know what I mean? And so you just never know what you're going to find when you write. See, I never clicked on there. I just did that for the first time and found what it did. You know what I mean? You right click on something and see what it does. And it's pretty cool. Right? But that preview is just, I use it all the time. Streamlines.
Graded it, can you actually modify it at that point, or are you talking on
whatever grade book I'm using, if let's say I would have it open in the tab next to it, and I would just kind of bounce back and forth between that and you know what I mean? However you're doing it. Like if you're in Google Classroom, you can actually grade it in Google Classroom. If you're using, some other digital grade book or grading by hand or whatever it is, yeah, you just gives you that ability to grade on the fly. You can't grade it in this environment. This is just for looking at it. Yeah, it's not editable in that frame. In Google Classroom, if I do open it up, now I can edit it. I can add, I can drop in here. I can, add a comment. You know what I mean? Like I can interact with it if I open it up. But if it's in just that view mode, that's just for me to get a quick snapshot of what kids are doing. And if you're a Google Classroom user, and if you're not, you should be. Okay. The next session I'm doing after lunch is just getting to know Google Classroom. It's just like super basic, right? But if you're in Google Classroom, the awesome thing that you can do is when you're doing this preview mode, as students are working, you can see where they are in the process. So this is a dead document. This is old, finished. But if students were working on this right now, I could in real time right now see what they're doing and just preview it. Boom, boom. This is where they are. This is where they are. This is where they are. And so real quickly, I can zap through it and go, Chris, you haven't written anything yet. What's going on? Like, you know, we've got 8 minutes left. You haven't written anything. Are we working here? What are we doing? So you know what I mean? It's like for classroom management, that kind of thing, works pretty well. Okay, so cropping. This is a really good tool, not only for Google Docs and slides, but what cropping allows me to do is this. So if I'm in an open Google Doc here, and I've got this picture, okay, and it's part of my document, okay, and I don't want this lady right here. I just want from this over. Okay, so one of the things that, and so let me go back a step. Your Google in your Google Docs, slides, sheets, anything, any Google Doc app, you have what's called a dynamic toolbar. Okay, so if you look up here at this toolbar, this is set up for word processing. So it's got font, you know, all your different font formatting. You can add a link. You can, you know, justify it and align it to the left, the center, the right. But look what happens when I click on the image. You can see that toolbar changes. It changes dynamically to now be an image toolbar. And one of the things that I get here is the international symbol for cropping, which is that, you know, those carrots with the line through it, right? And if I click on crop the image, you can see what it does here. It puts these little black handles all around my image. And if I want to take this woman out and just have that, now I have a very quick crop of an image that I put in a document. Super useful. This is the kind of thing that I, as a Photoshop user, used to have to get an image, bring it into Photoshop, crop it, do what I want to it, and then bring it back into a Google, into a doc or into a slide deck. Not anymore. Now I can just do it right inside of the app.
Sorry. And does this work on sites also?
On sites, you know, Google Sites is they just did a full-blown refresh on Google Sites that is only available. They're kind of beta testing it now with like super admins and stuff like that. So the old sites, I don't know. I never used it because I thought it was a big steamy pile of javelina poop. It just wasn't a good tool. But they have totally redone it. And so I would imagine in the next iteration, the one that's going to be coming out imminently, that most definitely. I can't imagine they would. So that's just cropping. The other tool now that we have if we go to a slide deck, I'm going to create a new slide deck here. And, you know, slide deck works much in the way that, you know, it also has that research tool. So if I come over here to research and I go to do an image search and I do, I've got my javelina here. I like it. Looks good. Oh, that one looks ferocious. Then I'm gonna drag in an image here. Okay, so if I want to bring in an image here, you can see I can crop it. There's also a little arrow here, a little down arrow that says mask image. If you ever worked with images in Photoshop, you know what masking is. But masking basically allows you to, in Google Slides, it allows you to kind of put a shape around something. So let's say I wanted to put a javelina inside of a burst. Right, I could, you know, this is kind of not a good image to do with, but I can now start, you know, telling stories, the shapes that I put things into, right? So, you know, if I don't like that one, then maybe I'll put it into, you know, an arrow or something, right? So you can start now masking and creating shapes around images and cropping them in that manner. right? So it allows you to kind of do more with images. And ultimately, when I'm creating a slide deck, a lot of times I want to tell a story through images, right? And so this allows me to dabble around with that. So cropping and masking. And so, yes?
Just to answer the site's question, because I'm one of the testers.
Oh, you are? Okay.
It does allow cropping, but it doesn't do it that way. It's more of a responsive style to where how you resize it will control what you see, and you control the zoom factor, and then that determines what ultimately gets shown.
Okay.
So it is cropping, but it's done more from a web responsive way rather than the just dragging.
Right, right. Okay, and remember those tools will only appear in your toolbar when you actually click on the image. So I'll have that like, you showed us how to do that, and I don't even see the crop tool. It's like just clicking on that image will activate it in that dynamic toolbar. So images are, I love playing with images. I love the stories that images tell. And so the opportunity to do different things with images is, something that, again, one of those things like I didn't know I could do that. So if I right click on an image, remember right clicking, you can always find cool stuff. And I go down to image options. It now brings up some interesting image options. I can make something transparent. I can add transparency to it. Okay. One of the things I used to love to do in Microsoft Word was to create a watermark so you type over it and you'd have this cool watermark. Well, Google Docs doesn't do that. So what I've resorted to is anytime I want a watermark, I will come into Google Slides and I will, create a document sized, and I will bring in an image and watermark it using image options. Okay, you can also recolor it. So there's, again, you want to tell stories through images, and you want things to look, this is all aesthetics and the way things look. But if I want the color of my image to match my, the style of my presentation, you can come in and you can play around with recoloring your image through image options, and then you can always hit the eject button and reset those adjustments and go back to the way you had it. But being able to jump into image options, again, something that I didn't know that was there, and there it is. This is a pretty fun one, and this has to do with special characters. So if I'm in a document and I want, let's say, where's the key here? Let's jump over to here, and I go into, so let me get rid of our Javelina friend here, and I'm in the title here, and I'm like, drive fun, and I want a happy face right here, but I don't know what key to press to get that actual happy face, and so I can go into insert. And if I go all the way down near the bottom, you'll see these special characters. Okay, and this is where now I get this little thing that shows up. And so this is where all these little weird characters are that, there's some key combination for them. You hit like 4 keys to get this weird little, what is that called? A rightwards harpoon over leftwards harpoon, whatever that means. Okay. So this is where you find those special characters. And if I look here at the top, I can drill down emojis, punctuation, format, Latin, African scripts, all kinds of different scripts. So if I go into like punctuation and I start looking at, okay, so this is all pretty common, but that section sign, I don't know, and that little paragraph sign, I don't know. And so, this is where I can start finding these different options. But one of the cool things that I can do is if I don't even know where to look for it and I want that paragraph symbol, I can just kind of draw it, right? And oh yeah, there it is, right? So I can draw it and it'll kind of tell me what it is. If I click it here, so the one thing that I've done is, you get that and you go happy face. And so there's happy faces that I can then pop in to my typing, right? And I can search for it by drawing it out. So that works in slides and in docs. You can kind of dig out those special characters. We started at 11:30, right? Okay. Freaked out for a minute there. I thought we started at 11. We're 15 minutes over. Biting into your lunch here. Okay, this is just a neat idea of, let's say I do an image search for whatever reason. Let's say that I printed out a copy of a document that I wrote and then somehow lost the document. So I have a picture of it, but I need to edit that picture. Have you ever had to edit something that was in a edit something that might have been a picture or a PDF and you just can't do it? So I'm going to just do an image search here. So if I do a Google image search, and I'm just type in paragraph. So here's an image of a paragraph. Oh, that's not a good paragraph. Here's one. Chocolate cake with vanilla frosting. So I've got this image. I'm going to go ahead and save that image. Now check this out. I'm going to go into my Google Drive. I'm going to go into New, and I'm going to upload a file. So here's this expository paragraph. It's a JPEG. It's an image, and I'm going to open it. And it's right here, and it's an image. So this little insignia is a Google drawing. It lets me know that this is an image. I'm going to right-click on this guy, and I'm going to open with Google Docs. I'm going to open an image of a paragraph with Google Docs. It's going to take Google a minute to think and figure it all out. This is like freaky magic right here, honestly. And oh yeah, here's the image. But it's taken that image of the paragraph and actually now turned it into a processable paragraph. And it'll do the same with PDFs. So if you have a PDF document it's all written, you can open it in Google Docs and it will ascertain. So there's some weird things in here like there's receipt and the dessert. So there's a couple of errors in here, but it is usable now. And I can take this, I can delete it, I can take that line, I can delete it, I can make the necessary edits, and then I have whatever text was in that PDF or JPEG, and it's editable text now. That's like freaky magic right there. I don't know what deal Google made with the devil, but they got it all figured out, man. Okay, I want to jump in now to some different projects, and so this is my true love. Those were all cool little tips and things. Those are things that I just kind of do all the time to make myself a little more productive and find just the interesting ways to do stuff. But really, where the rubber hits the road in Google Drive is using, and like I mentioned when we were looking at those Excel templates, it's using non-traditional tools or traditional tools for non-traditional things. So this is so Jeff, the guy Jeff Heil, who's running this this summit. This is something that he worked with some 8th grade students, and an idea that he showed me, and I've used it since then, is using Google Slides to make an interactive poster. So the key element and the very best thing about the apps in your Google Drive is that they're shareable. That students can collaborate on the same document. So you can have 5 students working on a slide deck together and they're going to present everything together, right? So it's not like they have to work on the same computer or hover over each other's shoulders. They can work on their own slides in a collaborative environment. So you can have all these different students working on the same thing at the same time. So you can literally have like 30 students working on a slide deck at the same time. And that's what this was. So if I click on this link, it takes me to it looks, it's kind of weird looking, right? But this is 8th graders, 8th grade English learners creating a collaborative slide deck on natural disasters. And so each of them had a different slide to go to. But this is the interactive poster that they made together, and then it's interactive in the way that you can go to each kid's slide, see it, go back home, check out the New Zealand earthquake by Ignacio, and check out what he had to say, go back, check out the tsunami in Japan by Ariana, and then you can really, we have this collaborative thing now that now is kind of almost like a little website. When you publish it to the web, it gives it this kind of website quality. And you can take something that was made to do what I'm doing here, and present slide by slide by slide some information, and you put it in the hands of students saying, you guys are making an interactive poster, which is really a website in which you all have created a page. And this interactive poster, this front page, is representative of all your work together. And this is where you jump to go to each of your individual pages. Okay, so non-traditional tool, a traditional tool used in a non-traditional way.
How do you share that? Then you just do a share with everybody?
Yeah, so if I'm in a slide deck, I have to make sure that it's shared first, and it is. And then I come over here to File, and I go down to Publish to the Web. Okay, so this is the secret to making it look like a web page. So now, or if you want to embed it on a website or something like that, you want to add like an embed code to put into your Google site or a Weebly site or whatever. But right here, this address, okay, if I copy that address and I open up a new tab and I paste it in, now it's unavailable, which is awesome. I thought that guy knew what he was talking about. Now it looks very different than the one that I shared with you earlier, right? It's bigger. You can see it has this black background, and all you can really do is jump back and forth. But when I have a link, it doesn't pop the little text underneath. It acts like a link. Right now, it acts just like a web page, right? But one that you can control with your arrow keys. Right, so just depending on what you want the user experience to be, that's the link you'll give them. If you want them to be able to access it in more of a in kind of this environment where they can actually see it, they can make a copy of it like I showed you at the beginning. You can give them the shared link, right? When you click here and it says get shareable link, this link right here, anyone with a link can view it. That's one link, but the publish to the web link is that kind of web page quality link. And when you have kids creating, or you're creating slide decks that you want to act like this, you want to do that publish to the web version of it, because that's when it looks like a very more interesting interactive site than a slide deck. Okay. So this is I did this when I had a sub. I had a bunch of popsicle sticks and hot glue guns. I like leaving the hot glue guns out when I have a sub, because they get so freaked out when kids burn themselves. The hot glue guns is the best. In any case, so this is a fun little way that to do some kind of instructional things. Like if in this case the kids had to create a 20-sided geometrical shape using popsicle sticks and hot glue. And so all the steps are laid out here. And if they click on the steps, right, it'll take them right to that step. So it basically, the links are to slides, right? So if I wanted to create, in this case, let's say I wanted to create a link, I would highlight text and I would go up, and the international symbol for link is those chains, right? But it doesn't have to be to a website. It could be to slides, in particular slides in this presentation. So you can give kids the ability to jump to a certain slide, as a link. which is pretty cool. So if you're creating kind of a step-by-step instructional thing like this is, you can kind of have all those steps laid out here on the first slide, and it'll jump them to that slide. If I wanted to fully realize that, I might put a little house and make a little home button here, and I might give it to them as a publish to the web document, so it'll just jump them back and forth like it did on the natural disasters interactive poster, which is pretty cool. But again, you're looking at a different way now. This traditional tool is now not something that I am saying, okay, guys, we're going to go through step 1, get this and do that, and then I'll wait for them to do that, and then, okay, here's our next step, let's do this. I'm not presenting this. I'm giving them, I'm putting a copy of this into Google Classroom. They will access it, and they will go through this on their own. You know what I mean? So using it more as kind of like a private step-by-step lesson than a presentation. And this is a really cool thing to have students do as well. A lot of our work now with students is reflective, is part of like a reflective process, and kind of metacognitive, giving them metacognitive activity so they can reflect on what they did. Well, if they're doing something, have them reflect step by step by creating something like this, so they can show you their process and they can share their process, which is a huge skill that employers are looking for. You know what I mean? Instead of just, here, turn it in, give me a grade, it's like, no, I documented my process all the way through this. And this is what it looks like. And I can put it in something like this with images that I took, and Okay, this is one of my favorites. It is a children's book. And so this is created in Google Slides. And I'm just going to show you here, this is a template, picture book template. But it's in slides. But how can it be in slides if it's shaped like a doc? It's the best. It's so awesome. Okay. So I go down to page setup, file, page setup, and you can see here that I can go here. There's kind of this. Everything defaults to this, to widescreen. This is standard Google Slides. But if I go to page setup now and I do custom and I go 8.5 and over here I go 11 and over here I go inches and I say, no, not you. 8.5 and 11 and I click OK, it now puts it in doc shape. And so what's the benefit of having a Google slide deck that's shaped like a document? Like, why would I ever want to do that? What's the point? Okay. Again, it allows you a lot more freedom when you're dealing with images, right? Images can be very persnickety when they're in in your document in Docs or like in Microsoft Word, but when it's in a slide, I can move anything anywhere in a slide. I have full freedom of movement. For text, right? As a matter of fact, when I have students creating newsletters now, I have them do it like this. Because to create columns in Docs is just way too challenging. But I can easily create text boxes of any shape or size and put them anywhere I want, put images anywhere I want, and if I keep it in 8.5 by 11 format on Google Slides, and I can really start the editing and publishing becomes so much easier, and then the kids can concentrate on the writing and the research. Never want the technology to get in the way. But here's the other cool thing, is this. So let me, I hope that I can find it in here. That would stink if I could. Well, I'll just show you how I do it. So you know how we've published to the web a few times already, right? I'm going to go to publish to the web here again, and I'm going to grab that link. And we're just going to pretend that this is a book. Students create their own children's book based on, on whatever material is at their level, whether if they're young kids and they're going to create one thing, if they're older kids, they're going to create a different thing. But if you do it in a slide deck and you publish it to the web, look at how their children's book now comes alive in this environment. There's nothing surrounding it. It's got that black background. It just pops. right? So that they are now developing this book that can now be sent out as a web page, right? Because that's all this is a link to a web page, and it can be arrowed through. So it really gives it the opportunity to be viewed in a really neat way, right? Again, a traditional tool used non-traditionally. Okay, we have 1 minute left. Autocratic writing. Okay, so this, if you're interested, this is a little complex. This is basically using a form, and when things you write in a form spit out into a Google Doc. I'm going to be doing my demo slam on this today, and then we'll be looking at it a little deeper. I've got a session tomorrow. It's an intermediate session, kind of going deeper with Google tools. That I'll be sharing that with them. And then this is just a quick shot. It's lunchtime right now, but this is an interactive newsletter that was I had students put students in groups of 6. Last summer we did zombie English, all based on the on Max Brooks's Zombie Survival Guide, and so we used that as our nonfiction text because it's written as nonfiction, even though it is, it's like. And so they had to create a newsletter, and the way this worked was this: I had them read something, they took notes, and then they distilled those notes into an abstract. That abstract was brought into the newsletter along with an image, and then these links, the title of their article, Patient Z Identified, you click on that and it jumps over to their notes page so that we can take a look at the notes and then how they distilled those notes into a super short abstract. This was a very interesting project in how to get all this information into this and then have them work together to make it all fit on one page. There was a lot of elements here. Those kids knew each other well and they got along, right? So this is the kind of thing when you have kids doing this, something like this, they have to be able to get along, because they're fighting over real estate now. On what had to be one page. It was like a challenge. Okay, this is I do this a lot with kids now. Who watches the show Chopped? You get the basket full of ingredients. You have to make something out of it. So this was Zombie Survival Guide. It was newsletter. It was I gave them, like, those were the elements. You had to make Google Docs. You had to make a newsletter. Had to fit on one page. These were the kind of the things that were in the basket, and they had to make it all work together to make the best of it. So yeah, this was fun. But that's this is using just trying to find new and interesting ways to have kids use these tools. And it's a party, man. This is what it should be: fun, should be creative, should be interesting, should be kind of wrenching and difficult and challenging and all those things. And the freedom that the Google tools allow us in Drive are just it just makes it so that as a teacher I'm freed up. Kids can collaborate, they can work through stuff, they can find different ways to use things, and it's just it really makes it so that I don't have to go out and find this tool or that tool, because I can use Google Slides to do so many different things. I can use Google Sheets to do so many different things and so on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop our broadcast.